We really do not know the whereabouts exactly of Mr. Charlie Atong Ang. That's a matter for the law enforcement to ascertain. We will provide them copies of the resolution, and as soon as the court issues the warrants of arrest as against the respondents who are charged, then that's the only time we'll know if they're actually here.
When mag-arrest warrant, nandito lang ba si Atong Ang sa Pilipinas?
We really do not know the whereabouts exactly of Mr. Charlie Atong Ang. That's a matter for the law enforcement to ascertain. We will provide them copies of the resolution, and as soon as the court issues the warrants of arrest as against the respondents who are charged, then that's the only time we'll know if they're actually here.
Sir, may ilbo or anything ba against Atong Ang? And yun nga, may record ba siya na umalis ng bansa?
I'm not very certain if there is an ILBO that was filed against him, but that's something that we can check. But certainly, once the information is filed, correspondingly, the prosecutors in charge or handling the case can already move for the issuance of whole departure orders.
But first things first, we would like to report that last Tuesday, December 9, 2025, the panel of prosecutors in the case of the missing Sabongeros filed by the PNP CIDG RFU Region 4A against the main respondent in that case, Charlie Chuhay Ang, aka Atong Ang, has finally released its resolution after almost more than a month of deliberation, of assessing the evidence, and of hearing the sides, the respective sides, both the claimants and the respondents, found prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction to charge and indict Atong Ang and 21 other respondents in that case with a special complex crime of kidnapping with homicide. That is 10 counts of kidnapping with homicide. Simultaneously, the panel of prosecutors found prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction to charge and indict the same main respondent, Charlie Chuhay Ang, aka Atong Ang, and 16 other respondents with a crime of kidnapping and serious illegal detention. So, these crimes are non-bailable, meaning that for them to be able to post bail, they would have to necessarily file a motion or petition for bail with the appropriate court where the case is filed. And that bail will be discretionary, where the judge will have to determine if the evidence of guilt is strong before it may even decide to grant bail to these respondents. Okay, so any questions? Yes, sir. Opo. No, sir. These are non-bailable offenses, so no bail is recommended. Okay, so no bail will be recommended if the respondents or the accused now in that case wish to post bail. The petition for bail will have to be filed first, which the court will have to grant based on its assessment of the evidence on the quantum na evidence of guilt is strong.
Sir, corollary to that, sir.
Wait, one question at a time, please. Okay.
One at a time.
Corollary to that, sir, yung saan siya ipa-file? And saan?
Okay, informations are being currently prepared because there are quite a number of informations that will have to be filed in various courts. It will be filed in different jurisdictions. This would be Batangas. There would be one, I don't know, in Laguna. And then there is also in Parañaque. So the informations will have to be filed. We're targeting to do it by next week to finish everything so that it will be filed in the 3 different courts or 4 different courts. And then hopefully we will be requesting for consolidation of all these cases, probably have it heard in one court para hindi na mahirapan. But that's something that we will have to make a request on with the Office of the Court Administrator.
Sir, to make it clear, wala pang naipapay na case sa korte.
The information has not been filed yet.
Thank you.
Sir, warrant of arrest, yung condition, it will only follow after after po na ma-file yon sa court?
Yes. Once the information is filed and copies of the resolution will also be attached to the information, the court will have the opportunity, or the court under the rules would have a period of 10 days within which to determine whether or not there is probable cause to issue the warrant of arrest. Then and only then can the warrant of arrest issue.
So you are leaving the you're waiting for the motion.
We're not waiting for their motion for reconsideration. Okay?
How many days po?
They have 15 days within which to file their motion for reconsideration, but then again, we are not precluded from filing the information manual that the release of the resolution simultaneously therewith, we will be filing the corresponding informations.
Sir, pwedeng ma-explain din yung reasoning bakit po na-dismiss din po yung complaint laban sa kay Julie Dondon Patidongan and Ella Kim?
Okay.
And can you confirm po na admitted na po sila as sa witness protection program?
Yes, okay. Just to be very clear, Julie Patidongan and I think the brother, Ella Kim Patidongan, were initially charged also as respondents in this case. But their testimonies were evaluated and they were admitted into the program. Now, as a consequence of their admission into the program, that would mean that they would have to be dropped in the information. Their names will no longer be included, and that is the reason for the dismissal.
Sir, so dun sa kasong ongoing na rin sa Manila RTC, ano mangyayari doon? Will you request na ma-drop na rin si Patidongan?
Well, we'll see. I'll have to talk to the investigating prosecutor, no? But it doesn't follow because the admission into the program is insofar as these cases that we resolved, that the department resolved recently. As far as the case which is already pending before the courts, that's a different matter altogether.
Sir, sila lang ba yung admitted sa WC? Yung Patidongan ba?
Yes, that's only the two of them.
Also, sir, since napag-usapan na yung statements, kasi basically sa resolution, much of the basis for determining kung sino yung magpapaya ng information, sino yung dismiss, based on sa statements ng Patidongan brothers. What was it in the statements of the brothers, the Patidongan brothers, that the panel of prosecutors found na pwedeng maging basis to file information against certain respondents?
Well, you have to look at the statements in its totality. You cannot isolate one statement and on the basis thereof determine whether people can be held liable or not. So looking at it, looking at the bigger picture and putting all the statements together, here what you have to establish, the charges are for kidnapping with homicide and kidnapping and serious illegal detention. Let's go first with the kidnapping and kidnapping with homicide. Here you have the testimony of Mr. Patidongan claiming that every time there is or there are sabugeros who are caught cheating, yung tinatawag nila or sinasabi nilang nanyonyope, he's the one tasked to talk to these people, and then shortly thereafter he receives orders from respondent Charlie Atong Ang to get in touch with police officers who will actually pick them up. Okay, and then after that, they would be brought to an undisclosed location where you will not hear from them or hear about them again. Now, if you take into account the statement of Julie Patidongan by itself, or on its own, medyo mahirap kasi meron kang gap. You don't know what happened or what transpired after they were taken. But the testimony of Ella Kim, in certain instances, would actually show that after they were taken from wherever it was that they were caught cheating, they would be boarded in certain vehicles, and Ella Kim was there. He was with them at the time that they were taken to this undisclosed location where they were beaten up, and where, according to him, they were thrown in a lake. So that completes the story. Even if you do not have the cadaver, when you talk about corpus delicti, you talk about the circumstances surrounding how you're able to prove the crime, and the circumstances proving the elements of the crime itself. Here, you see that the victims, from the time that they were taken, there is an account from the time that they were taken up to the time that they were last seen. And the last incident would have been that they were being beaten up, they were strangled, and before they were actually thrown into the lake. So that completes the story, which is the basis, I believe, of the prosecution panel in charging them with kidnapping, with homicide. And for those instances where there is a gap in the story wherein only Julie Patidongan was able to attest to the fact that they were taken, but he does not know anymore. There's nobody who testifies anymore kung ano nangyari in between. That is the basis now for the charges for kidnapping and serious illegal detention.
Speaking of Cadaver, hindi kasama sa evidence or hindi kasama
No, because well, reason for that is simple. Because as of this time, while there were bone fragments that were recovered or skeletal fragments that were recovered in Taal, the same is still undergoing DNA evaluation up to now. And we cannot just come up with a conclusion that this would be related to the missing sabongeros. Up until we have conclusive scientific evidence that the bone fragments and skeletal remains recovered in Taal are actually of any of the victims missing, that's the only time that it can be included as part of the evidence for the prosecution.
Charges for clarity, sir, kanina nabanggit na admitted na sila sa program.
Yes.
Pag makikilawin na sila po yung wala yung statement.
Yes, when you are admitted into the program, the consequence of that is that you are now obligated, or you have the obligation to testify for and on behalf of the state. Before your admission, your statement is evaluated to determine whether it is relevant, it is something that can be corroborated, if it is material, and if it is something that will help out the case, something which without their statements you would not have available in the evidence that is brought forth before the prosecution.
Pero sir, hindi po ibig sabihin na sila nakakit yung statement ayusin na sila sa mga pananampalataya.
When you are discharged as a state witness under the WPSB, you are dropped in the information, which means to say you have no criminal liability. Okay? You have no criminal liability because you're no longer charged and you will no longer be prosecuted. Yes, ma'am.
No criminal liability
For these cases where they were admitted into the program.
but if there are other pending cases, hindi ko yun.
Yes. It cannot be that the coverage will be all-encompassing and it will cover all other offenses.
So, hindi ba it follows na wala na rin silang liability dun sa ongoing cases since basically para
No.
naman?
That's a different story altogether because these cases that you're referring to, and I suppose you're referring to the one in the Manila Arena case. The Manila Arena case was filed way ahead, and the proceedings there are going on. I cannot second guess what the trial prosecutor is going to do, whether he's going to move for the discharge. But as far as I know, insofar as that case is concerned, I think Mr. Charlie Atong Ang was likewise accused, But that will have to be the subject of another preliminary investigation to determine whether or not he is supposed to be included as an accused in that case. So pwede pa siyang masama doon. Kaya lang, kailangan magkaroon muna ng preliminary investigation at malaman kung talagang merong ebidensya patungkol sa kanya na magiging basihan para siya ay isama doon sa kaso nila.
Sir, two things. Yung what was in the statement that, kumbaga, for lack of better terms, or the clincher of the panel to indict Charlie Atong Ang. And the converse naman, bakit na-dismiss the correction?
Okay.
Two cases.
Yeah, I got you there. You said two things. Okay, first thing. So far as the first matter is concerned, when you try to assess pieces of evidence, you look at yung facts, What are the elements and what can establish it? So the clincher there would be the statements which are positive averments. Positive averments are much stronger than simple denial, saying na hindi ko ginawa, I wasn't there, I wasn't present. Okay? And like I said, there is corroboration on the statements of Julie Patidongan by the statement of his brother. Okay? And the fact that, as we all know, as of this time, all the missing relatives of the victims, all the missing relatives of the complainants here We have no knowledge as to their whereabouts. No? The pattern seems to have been clear also that every time a situation happens where people are caught cheating in yung mga fighting arenas, the same modus would be done. Somebody would talk to them. Usually it would be Julie Patidongan, and then afterwards they would be referred to or be fetched by police officers among those who were charged with Charlie Atong Ang. As to the second point, you asked about Gretchen Barreto for the simple reason that the evidence is not sufficient. If there is not sufficient evidence, simply because one's name is mentioned, doesn't follow that they will be indicted. There will have to be more than just mention of one's name, as well as a relation as to the commission of the crime. Simply being in the company, simply being associated with a certain person who committed the crime does not mean that you're complicit to the acts that he committed. It proves that you were together. It proves that you're probably close, but it doesn't follow, and it is not conclusive that they discuss about all these things and that Ms. Barreto would have known everything that was going on or had exceeded that too.
Balikan ko lang yun sa ongoing case sa Manila RTC. So may possibility na maisama si Atong Ang doon?
Well, there will be a preliminary investigation that will still be conducted. Before that can happen, there will have to be a preliminary investigation in order to afford the respondent the opportunity to refute the charges against him.
And itong nangyaring indictment na ito, sir, parang hindi ba enough reason na yun na magkaroon ng preliminary investigation uli doon sa ongoing?
Yes, there is. I believe there is already one that will be undertaken very soon. No, we're just trying to wrap up things here insofar as these cases are concerned, and then that will proceed independently.
So parang ang magiging scenario, pwedeng mawala si Patidongan as accused and ipapasok si Atong Ang.
I cannot speculate just yet, no, kasi I have no details as to how the case has been progressing in the Manila Arena case. So I think it's best that we wait until the panel begins or commences the preliminary investigation and summons or subpoenas Mr. Atong Ang.
But definitely, sir, may plano na
Yes, I know for a fact that there is one.
Sir, regarding po yung sa hypothetical pa siya kasi masyado maaga, pero may effect po yun if ever magkakaroon ng hindi favorable na decision yung court habang umuusad din po yung separate cases wherein state witness yung magkapatid.
As you said, yeah.
Paano po i-handle yun?
Yeah, as you said,
complexities po ng ganun.
yeah, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. It's very difficult to base or to make any speculation, no, based on a hypothetical question. There are so many what ifs. We cannot anticipate all of them. We will be prepared, whatever happens, no. But right now, we cannot say that we will have an answer for every scenario that will be brought up.
Nasa stage na ba yung
Prosecution's evidence. Yes. Yes.
Maaga pa naman, sir, kung pwedeng may mangyari pa talaga rin. May gawin pa.
Well, kung prosecution's evidence, pwede pa. Pwede pa. See? But again, there is also nothing which will prevent, not because, let's say, lumampas na ng prosecution's evidence, doesn't follow that he can no longer be investigated for that particular case. The double jeopardy will not lie there because he has not been indicted yet, neither has he been arraigned. Yes.
Sir, clarification lang. Yung initial na number dun sa basic sa Pumeros na 34 yung naman yung pero in the resolution na 26 na lang siya. Merong ibang nawala or can you clarify?
Okay, if you look at it, the panel did not take any action insofar as the complaints involving the Manila Arena victims because there is already a case which is pending before the court. So tinanggal na yung anim na yon, no? Or hindi ko alam kung anim sila or 7. But they were taken out of the equation already. That's why you have a lesser number.
Sir, pwede mag-ibang topic sa flood con. Ay, sige.
Let's finish the Sabongeros and then we can go to another topic. Yes.
Sir, you already mentioned that the actual cadavers is not necessarily in this case. Pero ideally, if one of the, siguro the skeletal remains is positively identified as one of those, It would greatly help your case. Pero sir, isn't that a setback that we don't really have a body for any of the 26 cases, and that your primary witness actually were the ones more closer to the implementation of the crime?
Well, it's always a challenge, no? It's always a challenge, and it's a bit difficult. I will have to admit, it's a bit more difficult because this time you rely on circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence insofar as the fact of killing, especially for those who remain missing as of this time. But for those who were actually witnessed to have been strangled, beaten up, and then thrown in the lake by Elijah Kim, that's direct evidence. Now, and so far as the cadavers are concerned or the skeletal remains, yes, definitely it will be very helpful for the prosecution if later on after the examination it would turn out the positive that it matches the DNA of any of the surviving families of the victims in these cases. There is nothing which will preclude the prosecution from utilizing the findings if it will be favorable to us in the course of the trial. Okay, that's something that will be made available to us hopefully before we reach the pre-trial stage. And if it is favorable, then we will make use of those pieces of evidence.